The best thing about 3-yard quilts is that any 3 yards will work with any of the patterns.
Let us show you what we mean. Hi, it's Fran Morgan.
And Donna Robertson with Fabric Café.
We recently did a video where we showed you the same 3-yard kit in multiple patterns.
Well, you loved it so much, we're doing it again.
We've got more fabric combinations today, and we're going to show you how you can change them up by just changing the pattern. Let's check out our first one. Now, this is our Cotillion pattern from our Make It Home book, and it has some great features to it. First, as you can see, we have a very large block here, which really can accommodate a gorgeous fabric. And what we've done is we've snowballed the corners here. Now, these are snowballed with our number 2 fabric, these with our number 3. Then, when we alternate it with our other block, it creates this really cool kind of diagonal line, and it looks like our big snowballs are floating on the background, which is super cool. So you can see we have the brown here and the white here. Now, this block, it's just the same block, so we love it when we have similarity. So when we're making it, it goes really fast, but we've simply rotated them to create that diagonal line. So super fun to do, super simple, and it's gonna feature some fabulous fabric. Let's check it out. Now, I'm so excited to share this fabric kit because it looks good in the Cotillion pattern as well as a couple of others. It would actually look great in lots of different patterns.
It sure would, and you know, hummingbirds are just, they're such a hobby for so many people, and I just love it when we see the schedule and they tell you when the hummingbirds will be in your area.
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned that because I just saw that. And this way you can have hummingbirds all year long.
That's true, that's true. And they're like little rainbows of hope.
They are, and this is beautiful fabric. And they really, I mean, what color this fabric has. It's just so rich and beautiful. And this is our focus fabric, and this is a tossed fabric because the hummingbirds are flying all different directions, which they do, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
So that's going to go in our big area here where this kind of rusty orange floral is. Now we've paired it with this gorgeous peachy color, which picks up all the peaches and the hummingbirds. And that's going to be in the background where the white is here in our alternate block and on every other snowball corner there. And then for our number 3, we're going to ground it really well with this kind of textural, it kind of is blue, but it's kind of green. It goes between.
It does have a little green undertone.
So it's really, really pretty, and I think that's cool with the hummingbirds because, you know, sometimes hummingbirds look blue and sometimes hummingbirds look green.
Yeah, they're kind of iridescent.
Yeah, it's very fun. Yeah. So our number 3 fabric is going to go in our star here, as well as the corner of every other snowball block and a little on the border, and it's going to frame the hummingbirds so beautifully. Both colors will, because I love the way the Cotillion pattern kind of reverses its colors, the way it's made. And you can see that great big snowball block really shows off those hummingbirds.
That's amazing.
I really like this. And you know, our other alternate block with the star, to me this star looks like it's spinning, so it gives a lot of extra movement too.
Yes, it does.
So I think it's
like
really
that.
cool. Now, let's show you this fabric kit in 2 other patterns because it looks equally as gorgeous in these. First, we have Elation, and this is from our stash busting book. Kept the hummingbirds in the focus fabric, so they're the center of that star. And the way this quilt is made, it has those other points where it looks like it's layered, and I think it just works beautifully.
It does. I like that a lot.
And the number 3 is bordering this one, which I think is a really, really nice frame. All right, the next pattern that we have this kit fabric in is Marquee. And Marquee, it has the great big blocks there in the center. And this is also a great pattern for panels, by the way. But it works perfect with this running yardage. I like the way the blocks are alternately bordered, some with the number 3 and some with the number 2, which is the peach. And then the peach really is our background on this, and I think it looks great.
Well, you know, when you do that alternation of the borders like that, it adds the movement to a super simple pattern.
Now, let's look at all of them side by side so that you can see how different each pattern looks with the same fabric.
Wow, that is really amazing.
And they're all gorgeous.
They are.
And it works. I think the key is that we have a little bit larger focus print, So we're picking a nice size focus block.
Oh, that's a really good point. And you know, it's really kind of interesting as well is you've got 3 different quilts that look like they probably have 3 different levels of complexity, but all of them are going to be so easy to do with our simple instructions.
So very different looks, same fabric, great patterns. I love how versatile 3-yard quilts are. All right, let's get you the kit information on this gorgeous kit. It is called Whispering Wings. It is the Cotillion pattern from the Make It Home with 3-Yard Quilts book.
Now, Dominique is such a fun pattern to make. It's got super simple construction. And what you're going to be doing is using a double focus, if you'd like, because it'll really show off some gorgeous fabrics. And a little key for a double focus is that you want to get a little separation in there so that you can actually focus on each of those fabrics, and then you can go back to that little center spot for a resting spot with your eyes. Now, this is a construction that's very easy to do, identical blocks, and they are just made with 2 different colors. So whenever you make this block, it's not great for a directional fabric because of the way the construction is. We recommend a tossed fabric or a tone-on-tone fabric because this block is going to be turned, and you can see how the little square turns and goes like this. But the fun part of this particular quilt is it makes this adorable flower whenever you get those 4 blocks together. And this is going to showcase the gorgeous fabric that we've selected for it today. Now, this is happy fabric.
It's very happy fabric.
I really like this fabric. And this, as I was saying, is going to be a good double focus for this quilt. So whenever I'm picking out my double focus, I usually try to get a different sizing of your print.
A different scale print.
A different scale. And so that's what we've done here. And that adds the movement to the quilt as well instead of it being real static. So we're going to put our number 1 fabric in this section here, and it'll also be out here on the border. Then I know it's so sweet. Now the little polka dot is going to be the number 2 fabric, and that's that different scale that we were talking about. Now, one of the reasons why we did that rather than using a solid is if you look at this, you can see once again that when you compare these 2, this is your lightest, and so it would be in the number 2 position. And then the number 3 fabric is perfect for the sashing. So it's a super simple and easy way for you to pick out your fabrics for this quilt. And that sashing will then separate your 2 focus fabrics as we talked about earlier. It is interesting that a quilt really does, as busy as you want to make it, it needs some place, whether it's with a lighter or a texture or something like that, because your eye will look for that resting place, and it will help you enjoy the beauty of the quilt more.
Yes.
I love the pink for the flower.
I do too.
Middle.
That number 3 fabric, creating that flower by putting the blocks together and rotating them is so perfect.
It is.
And I love that we didn't just go with a white. We put the polka dot in there.
It adds that interest. I'm always saying I like a little bit of interest in that number 2 fabric because even though it's a resting place, you want it to be interesting. But let's look and see what happens if we pick out a couple of other patterns. And this one is so fun. It has a big block for that floral. And then you do the pinwheel out of the number 2 and 3. I can just see a spring day with a pinwheel running through the flowers in a field.
It is so, so cute.
It is. And then the third one, Wonderland.
I love it.
I do too. I love the way that you designed this one with the pinwheels that come together in the blocks. And it's one of those little magical things that happen when you put 2 of our blocks together.
Rotate them. Yeah. Oh, it's great. I love it. And once again, a great number 2 because it has that polka dot.
Absolutely. Now you can see all 3 of them together. And isn't it just amazing that the same fabric looks great in any one of those patterns? And so that's one of the joys of making a 3-yard quilt. Is they're written in such a way that it's easy for you to pick out your fabric and then put it in any one of the patterns.
Yep. All 3 gorgeous, all 3 really, really fun.
So the name of this kit is Daisy Doodle. It's the Dominique pattern from the book Modern Views.
Now this super fast pattern is called Faceted, and there are some wonderful characteristics about this quilt. First, you can use a double focus fabric. And as you can see here, we have 2 different fabrics in our main block. And as Donna mentioned earlier, it's separated here by our number 2 fabric, which kind of showcases both focus fabrics so you can really see them. Now, this is also made with a little stitch and flip corner here. This is exactly the same. We've just turned the fabric. So there's actually no seam matching here. We're going to sew a strip between each of the blocks here, no seam matching. And then we have a solid strip here making our sashing, which means no seam matching, which is fabulous. This is going to go together so quick. So let's check out all of the gorgeous fabric we've chosen for it. Now, Mom, our next kit is out of this world.
I would have to agree with that.
It is such a fun fabric. And we've got our black background with all of our planets on here and just these gorgeous colors. And they're all labeled, so we know exactly which ones are which. You know, I think that's really important. When you're younger and you're learning your planets, which I remember as a kid doing, I would need to know that that was Venus and Jupiter and Saturn, and it's so much fun.
And you know, it just recently, when all the planets were lining up in the sky, it would have been nice if they had put their name underneath each one.
You can look up there and see. Yeah, that's so funny.
But it
Yeah,
was
that
a
would be
fun
nice.
time looking at them.
It really was. So our focus fabric, our space fabric here, is going to go everywhere this larger floral is on this block, as well as a little bit on the border. And this is going to be great because it's really going to capture a lot of these planets.
It really showcases.
It really does. And then our number 2 fabric, we have a nice textural, it's kind of an off-white, and that will be our sashing here as well as our snowball corners, which is very fun. And remember, no seams to match on that, which is great.
Very best point.
All right, and our number 3 fabric is so much fun. We have all the diagrams for spacesuits, gloves, and helmets, and the whole suit, and all these things. I could learn something by looking at this fabric. This is a toss fabric, and it's perfect for this as the alternate block to our space. I think it's perfect. And it's going to go everywhere this lighter floral is here, as well as a little bit on the border. And it's going to give you that big space so you can see all those words and diagrams. So I really,
perfect,
really
yes.
love it. I love the way the black and the red contrast with our number 2 fabric, creating that diagonal line. I think
You know,
it's
it is
so much
really-
fun.
It is just so cool. It's almost like when you start looking through a telescope, you're trying to focus, and it's like you're looking up into the sky, and it's got one little bit that's kind of cut off, and you're just going to move that telescope a little bit. It's just a great quilt.
It is very fun, and I love that the blocks are big enough to really show off the planets.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think it's perfect. All right, let's see what this fabric looks like in a couple of other patterns. First, we're going to look at So Quick. And you know, this is such a great pattern because it is so quick. We have a nice big block alternated with a 4-patch. And as you can see, that big block shows off our planets again, which is great.
Absolutely,
I love it.
yeah.
I like that the number 3 is on the border, so you can see an extra amount of that too.
Yes, because you're going to be cutting the width of the fabric for that. That's going to be perfect.
It's perfect. All right, now we also have this fabric in the Celebrations quilt.
Now
This
that's fun.
It is so much fun. It's from our Make It Patriotic book, which is cool. And it's a big block alternated with a star block, which looks like it's twirling. Love this.
I like that too. And you just have a little peek of the planets in that
Star.
that alternate, that
Like
alternate block.
Yeah, almost like they're being reflected. I also like how there's separation between the blocks with the number 2 fabric. I think it really helps the stars look like they're floating a little bit. Now let's
is.
look at all 3 side by side so you can see how different they look.
Wow.
I mean, wow. And we've got faceted, fast pattern, no seams to match, nice big block, gonna go together in a hurry. Same way with So Quick. It's gonna be so fast. It's gonna go together. And I think both of them have some diagonal movement to it, just a little bit different ways.
Yes. You know, you just think about zooming through space.
It is so much fun. All three gorgeous. Now let's look at the kit information on this. It is called Cosmic Adventure, and we showed it in our faceted pattern from Double Focus 3-yard quilts.
Now, Wandering Way it has to be one of my favorite quilts that I've ever done. It's one of those things that it has the disappearing blocks in there. It's kind of hard to pick it out while it's all up here because you just see that wonderful diagonal aspect of the quilt. But I will point out a couple of things about the blocks, and then we'll block it out on the table so you can really see where they are. First of all, this particular block, this is the center of the block. So you can see that it would go like this, and that's the center. Where up here, you're going to get the center right in this section. So I'm going to block that out for you so that you can really see it. This quilt is perfect for using textural designs or fabrics. Like this is a real textural, and this is too. But we also threw in a nice floral. And this is absolutely a beautiful fabric, but we've got gorgeous fabric for you to see how this is put together. We're going to start with this particular block here. And it looks like you've done something hard when you look at the whole big quilt. And there's no half square triangles, so you're going to make this one in a hurry. Now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to do a strip assembly, and you cut a unit just like that.
Easy.
And then you add a piece on the side. Now, how's that?
That's very fast and very simple.
Now, take it a little bit further down. You're going to see we have a block here.
It's a square.
Yep, that's
easy too.
All right, so whenever you look at it all together now, you can see the pieced portion of the block here and here with the squares on the side.
All right, very fast.
Yes. Now, this particular block is also super easy to do, and it's going to be right here. Now, this one is pieced a little bit differently just because you're going to start with a square here, and then you're going to put the little pieces on the side that have been strip pieced.
All right.
Right
like
there.
That. Okay.
And then you are going to do the same right over here.
Okay.
And then you do another strip assembly. You cut the units out and you put one on the bottom and one on the top. And you have your other block.
And it's still super simple to put together because it's strip piecing and just cutting units and sewing them together. Oh, so fast.
So fast and easy.
You know, and it's very deceiving how when you alternate these blocks the way you have and rotated them, it creates this great movement across the surface.
That you wouldn't even see by looking at an individual block.
You are so right. Because my eye wants to go to this to be the block, but it's not. So it's super cool.
Yes.
This is so pretty.
So you can start with your fabric number one. It's going to be in each of these little blocks as well as out here on the border and the binding. And then we've got this pretty mottled aqua color that is just going to be the perfect number two. Number two is going here and here and here all the way through. So then the number 3 fabric has these leaves, and it's just going to mimic the look of this. You can very easily visualize what this is going to look like because this fabric is going to go in the number 3 spot. And it's that accent color. That's really what's grabbing your attention when you first look at this quilt is the accent color of the number 3.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that because I think one of the keys on this pattern is to get a lot of contrast in your number 3 so that this really pops off.
Right. You wouldn't want it to be real blendy, like it would just fade into the background because that's going to be the attention getter for this particular quilt.
And I think this kit is perfect for exactly that.
And you do have that wonderful, almost like a chain or...
The wandering way.
The wandering way. Which way do I go? It's kind of like being in a maze.
Right, and that contrast is there. It's perfect.
Yeah, it is really great. But what happens if you change the pattern? Wow, I really do like that in It's a Snap.
I do too.
It's a Snap is one that needs that high contrast again between the number 1 and the number 3. And then the number 2 becomes the background, so it's perfect for this.
It is perfect.
And again, this is not a hard quilt to put together, and it's done with some pretty simple blocks.
Yep.
And then Irish Christmas. Wow, isn't that gorgeous? And that's a 1-block quilt.
Oh.
You just make 1 block and you turn those blocks and it just goes together so easily and so well to make that wonderful Irish chain look.
Such a great one. And once again, that great contrast with the number 3 really gives us our movement across the surface of the quilt. Love it.
And you know, look at all 3 of these. I mean, it is just amazing how the one set of 3 fabrics looks great in all the different patterns.
And I also think our fabulous fabric strategy of focus fabric, the number 2 being the lightest and the 3 being the darkest, works every single time. And this is a great example of that.
We've seen many quilts that you've made where your number 2 fabric is not going to be a white or a real pale color. As long as you get that contrast, it can be a color as well.
So much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
So this kit is called Tranquil Trellis. It's the Wandering Way pattern from Quilts in a Jiffy. That was so much fun seeing those patterns change the look of that fabric. It was just amazing.
Incredible.
Do you have other types of video you'd like to see where we can change up patterns or fabrics? Let us know in the comments.
And if you'd like to see even more fun ways to use 3-yard quilts, be sure to watch the video that pops up. Happy quilting!